A good evening to you all, and thank you very much for joining us here on Rwanda Television News. We do hope you had yourselves a very productive Tuesday and a great start to the new month and week. Here's a sneak peek of our edition tonight. President Paul Kagame has started his 3-day official visit to Latvia with a tour of the Museum of the Occupation of Latvia. As Rwandans celebrate Patriotism Day, there are those who were once refugees in neighboring countries who emphasize the importance of prioritizing education and culture and how that made them continue the spirit of patriotism even though they were living in critical conditions. Once again, we're glad to have your company tonight, coming to you straight from the heart of Africa, Kigali, and my name is Martina Evera. Now, as we begin the edition of the news, let us inform you that President Paul Kagame has started his 3-day official visit to Latvia with a tour of the Museum of the Occupation of Latvia. President Paul Kagame and his host, President Edgars Rinkēvičs, will on Wednesday hold a closed-door meeting before addressing a joint press conference. Now, as Rwandans celebrate Patriotism Day, there are those who were once refugees in neighboring countries who emphasize the importance of prioritizing education and culture and how that made them continue the spirit of patriotism even though they were living in critical conditions. We have the reports courtesy of Inora Gladys.
After 20 years, parents who were refugees in some neighboring countries, Joseph Mapendo, who was born in 1920, grew in refugee crisis in one of the refugee camps in Uganda. Though he was young, he says that he remembers problems he went through with his parents that made him write a song that talks about their difficult life they lived in.
Kwiga twakoraga ibirometero birebire cyane.
We would do very long kilometers to go to school, where we would go early in the morning around 3 a.m. to arrive to school. There was a route we used to pass through, but you couldn't use it without crawling. Now imagine an adult carrying heavy things coming from the market crawling. That gave me an inspiration of writing this song so that young people would be able to know this history.
It is a difficult life of refugees that was mentioned again by Pastor Singer Emmanuel during RwandaTV event on this Sunday, when Rwandans were thanking God for the 30 years of liberation.
Those who were refugees in Uganda, their parents went there in 1959 and they found themselves in exile. I believe that you can't forget the bad conditions that you were living in: Ramanja, Nakivale, Chaka1, Chaka2, Ibuga, Gahunde, and Changwanzi. I believe you cannot forget the God that rescued you in those places. We used only one saying, that was, we really struggled a lot. We give thanks to God for bringing us to our country. We cannot forget the ones who fled to Tanzania. Also used to say that the living conditions were really bad. They fled in Chimuri, Nakwenda, in Karangwe refugee camps, and also the ones who were banished by President Mobutu and welcomed by Nyerere.
For a lot of people, they say that they kept their cultural values, which made them prioritize their country everywhere they went, and even in schools, as it is being explained by Josephine Uwamaria, who was a refugee since she was a young girl of 5 years.
Whenever I actually shared that I was a Rwandese, they say, oh, you know. But when I came and I came back, I said, now here I am. Nobody's going to to disrespect me because I have a country. Because before that, they would say, these Rwandese, I had even hated speaking Luganda because they were despising Rwandese. I'm very proud to be a Rwandese, to be in Rwanda, to see the progress of our country. very good governance, because our country leadership is actually considered as a very exemplary leadership.
Education was the main way that was used by the former leaders to spread genocide ideologies, which made the ones who were in the neighboring countries to use education in building patriotism, as it is explained by Narcisse Musabyeyezu, who remembers the way they taught students under the tree without required tools. He says that even though most of them didn't go in good schools, it did not stop them from becoming good patriotic leaders for their country. He advises leaders and parents to put more efforts in education because it is what was based on in building patriotism.
When the struggle started, when some were going to training, others were seated thinking, what do we do? Analyzing the situation of Rwanda. What do we do? How shall we just have the unity of people? How shall we develop? How shall we have the welfare of the people? So all this what is happening is not accidental. RPF thought of that. The educated people thought of that. They planned it for that. So it was not an accident. So that's why I say education that we had in refugee schools, that we have where we are school. This is when we think of St. Albert and Bear in Bujumbura, it was almost the same. They never taught people to go to university or what. Although they went there, they taught people how to survive. So when people went to recruit them, they never just, the war came because they knew what they were doing. So that was education.
October the 1st every year, Rwandans celebrate a day named Patriotism Day, whereby they consider the courage and spirit of heroism the Rwanda Patriotic Army had to liberate their country for all the Rwandans who were living as refugees in the neighboring countries. Enora Gladys, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Enora, for that report. Rwanda's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Ernest Rwamucho, expressed concern over the integration of the FDLR into the DR Congo's National Armed Forces, FARDC. The envoy warned that the Congolese government's support for the militia poses a direct threat to Rwanda's national security. Adam Squizera with more.
The Rwandan government has reiterated the warning about the integration of the FDLR into DR Congo's armed forces FARDC, with the envoy to the United Nations saying Congolese government support to the militia poses a direct threat to Rwanda's security. Ambassador Ernest Rwamucho, Rwanda's permanent representative to the UN, highlighted at the Security Council on Monday that the Democratic Republic of Congo should end support to the militia linked to the 1994 genocide against Tutsi.
We cannot overlook the serious threat posed by the integration, arming, training, and financing by the Congolese armed forces of the FDLR genocidal militia, a group responsible for the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. Additionally, the near absence of the FDLR in this report is alarming, especially when compared to the mentions of M23 or ADF, which are referenced twice as often. The report continues to downplay the ongoing collaboration between the FARDC, Congolese Armed Forces, and FDLR, a danger not only to regional peace, but a direct security threat to Rwanda, as has been repeatedly mentioned in this council.
The ongoing conflict in DRC has been a persistent issue over the last 30 years, with the various reports highlighting the deep-rooted problems. Despite these reports, the underlying causes such as political instability, armed activities have been often overlooked. Ambassador Rwamucho noted on the frustration over DRC's failure to implement agreements aimed at neutralizing the FDLR and its allied militias operating in the eastern part of DRC.
This lack of action is further evidenced by the striking absence of statements or concerns raised by council members regarding the recent refusal by the DRC to endorse the harmonized neutralization plan for the FDLR. This plan, I must add, was endorsed by the DRC-owned security organs in collaboration with Rwandan and Angolan experts. It is deeply concerning that the DRC government so bluntly and publicly refuses to commit to peace and regional stability without any reaction from the international community.
During his address to the 79th United Nations General Debate, Ambassador Rwamucyo emphasized that Rwanda's pursuit of unity and peace serves as a valuable example for the world.
Rwanda knows firsthand what division and fracture can do to a society, let alone a community of nations. In the aftermath of the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994, we Rwandans found ourselves at a crossroads where we chose unity over division for our own survival. This choice was not an easy one, but it was the right one and has defined Rwanda's post-genocide nation building ever since. The world now stands at a similar crossroads with a choice to make, to choose unity for the collective good.
The government of Rwanda has shown strong support for the Luanda process, which aims to address the security issues in the region by tackling the root causes of instability, particularly in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Ambassador Ernest Rwamucyo emphasized that diplomacy plays a key role in resolving the security issues. Adam Squizera, RTV News.
Not moving far for that, Ambassador Ernest Rwamucyo, Rwanda's representative to the UN, urges nations to embark on more green investment on the African continent to curb carbon emission that continues to impact negatively the African continent, yet contributing only 4% of it. These were reiterated at the closing of the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly on Monday. Prince Manzi with more.
Currently, 12 million tons of plastic finds its way into the oceans annually, with 1.75 tons trapped in the waters directly. In Rwanda, the effects and use of plastics ranged from flooding to leading to low agricultural productivity. In addition, in 37.12 billion tons of carbon dioxide emitted across the globe, Africa contributes only 4%, and despite that, the continent endures most of the consequences.
And I'll give the floor to His Excellency, Mr. Ernest Rwamucyo.
From here, Ambassador Ernest Rwamucyo, Rwanda's representative to the United Nations, affirms that there is need for more green investment in Africa.
Rwanda encourages nations to join hands and conclude an ambitious global plastics treaty based on a comprehensive approach that addresses the full life cycle of plastics at the upcoming INSC5 in Busan. We have a historic opportunity to demonstrate our collective resolve to end plastic pollution for the benefit of current and future generations. Rwanda stands ready to play a positive role in that direction.
In 2008, Rwanda adopted the law prohibiting the manufacturing, importation, and use of polyethylene bags. From this, Ambassador Ernest Rwamucyo affirms that adopting the Global Plastics Treaty is not only beneficial to current but also future generations.
Building resilient economies in the Global South is an urgent priority, which goes hand in hand with increased solidarity from those who are most responsible for carbon pollution. The pay-to-pollute model is not a viable option. Solidarity and investment are. Consequently, advanced economies should reduce their emissions faster and invest more in African autonomous transition. In a few weeks, the world will gather in Baku, Azerbaijan, for COP29. The international community should seize this opportunity to pledge more green investments in Africa.
The Global Plastics Treaty aims at holding all countries to a high common standard of plastic consumption and create a clear path towards a future free from plastic pollution. So far, 175 nations voted to adopt this treaty, expected to be implemented as soon as 2025.
Moving on to oral health matters, experts in oral health recommend regular dental checkups at least every 6 months to detect any potential issues early. They also stress the importance of seeking timely treatment, as untreated dental diseases can lead to more serious health complications. We have more on this report.
At the hospital's dental department, where dental care services are offered, we spoke with patients Mukashema and Francine Nyirashikama, who came to seek medical care. Both acknowledged experiencing dental issues early on, but admitted to attempting self-treatment with salt and other traditional remedies. As a result, They are now dealing with the consequences of delayed professional care. I came to have a tooth extracted because it is causing me pain. When I rinse with water, it hurts, and now the gums around the tooth are swollen. When it started, I drank water and felt like it was hurting me inside. Eating hot food caused pain as well. I asked my siblings and neighbors for advice, and they suggested rinsing with warm salt water, saying it would relieve my toothache. Some even recommended putting gasoline on it. Dr. Moise Ndebakumana, who was attending to the patients, emphasized the importance of caution when attempting self-treatment. He noted that such efforts are unlikely to cure the illness without consulting a qualified doctor for proper care.
It stops when you go to the doctor. The doctor will examine you and tell you how severe the tooth issue is, whether it is treatable or not, or if there's a higher level of treatment that can help you. If patients come early enough, we can treat the disease easily from the roots, and one can heal and be in good condition again.
Dr. Pascal Ndaize, an oral and dental specialist, emphasized the role of teeth, noting that because they are part of the head, dental diseases can lead to severe health complications or even be life-threatening if not properly addressed.
The teeth are located in the head, which also houses the brain. Occasionally, an infection in a tooth can spread to the brain, particularly when the infection originates from the upper teeth, as it can travel upward directly. Such infections can lead to serious illness or even death. Additionally, dental infections may lead to the heart disease.
Dr. Pascal Ndaize further explained that while dental and oral hygiene along with timely treatment are important for everyone, people with diabetes should be particularly vigilant as they are at higher risk for complications.
Life is interconnected. If your gums are suffering and you have diabetes, the condition can worsen. As diabetes can lead to recurring gum problems, it's essential for diabetic patients to maintain proper oral hygiene to prevent these issues.
Currently in Rwanda, dental services are available at all health facilities and are covered by community health-based insurance. Doctors continue to advise the population to have dental checkups at least once every 6 months to prevent potential complications from dental diseases. Olive Nete, RTV News.
And on that note, that marks the end of our bulletin. And on behalf of the news production team as well as the technical team, we would like to thank you very much for sticking with us on RTV News. And I, who delivered to you the news, is Martina Avera. Stay safe and have a great night.